So, Brad, important question for you. Have you ever seen Hillbilly Shakespeare?
No. That sounds like a great name for a band, but no, I haven't.
It actually does. You know what? As an accidental band name, you're right. Hillbilly Shakespeare sounds pretty good. So my wife and I went to see some Shakespeare in the park. In summer times they kind of do that. At evening, and it was the first time in my life I had read that this was the case, but I had read that. Appalachian accents, U.S. Appalachian accent, the hillbilly accent, for those that don't know it, is the closest to 16th century Elizabethan English pronunciations and sentence structure and emphasis and all this sort of stuff, right?
Okay.
And I had read that for decades, but I had never heard it done. I had never heard Shakespeare done in an Appalachian accent. Yeah. And we went to go see The Winter's Tale, which, by the way, if you're in the market for a good Shakespeare play, The Winter's Tale is not it, Brad. It is not. The Winter's Tale is not good. It makes not a goddamn lick of sense. The plot is bonkers. There's a time skip of 16 years, which makes no sense.
Wow.
Anyway,
16 years.
Yeah, and also, just a totally side note, time skips were not a hugely established tradition. So Shakespeare literally had to have the embodiment of time come out on stage and explain what was happening. Like, all right, now we're jumping ahead 16 years because no one knew what the fuck a time skip was in 1601, So anyway, long story short, not a great play. But Brad, the thing that got me so excited was Appalachian accents are amazing with Shakespeare. So what I wanted to do to start the show today was just do a tiny little snippet of King Henry V in Appalachian accent. And so so this is King Henry V firing up his troops before the battle, the famous St. Crispin's Day speech. And I'm going to do my best Appalachian accent, Brad. But if you're listening to this and you're a true hillbilly and you think my accent is bad, I just want to apologize ahead of time to you and to your cousin wife. This is no insult is intended, because sometimes my Appalachian starts to sound Texan, so it's fine, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so here it is. Here is my impersonation of an Appalachian accent doing Shakespeare, and it kind of works, okay? So here we go. Brad, this day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes home safe will stand a tiptoe when the day is named and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. Then he will strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on St. Crispin's day. Old men shall forget, ye shall forget, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day, and then shall our names. And doesn't it work, Brad?
Oh my God. No, I was transfixed.
Because
that was amazing.
To an American ear, it makes more sense, and you can figure out what's going on a little bit easier because it has just enough Americanism in it that you get it, but it also works with like the phonetic structure of Shakespeare. Anyway, I was transfixed. The whole play, I was like leaning forward every time the Appalachian accented folks came out because I was like, oh, I want to hear more from the shepherd. He's amazing. Brad, I got to tell you, if you get the chance, run, don't walk. And I don't know how you would ever find this in the world because, God, who would advertise this? But if you ever see Shakespeare advertise that we're going to do it in Appalachian accents, run, don't walk, Brad. Go see it.
Oh, my gosh.
See it.
It is amazing. Like, my common complaint with Shakespeare is I have a hard time following the words. Like, I have a hard time following the story because I'm not parsing the words. But you're right. Doing that in an Appalachian accent, I understood everything that happened there. Whereas if it was in traditional Shakespearean delivery, I probably wouldn't. But I got every word of that, which means that we really should be taking an Appalachian Shakespeare more seriously because you could actually communicate more clearly. And it's all about the communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, who knew that all it took was Appalachians teaching us and showing us the way, right? The hillbillies knew all along. Listen, Brad, if you want to understand Shakespeare, you got to go down to Appalachia. That's what you got to do. Get a little moonshine, maybe lose a little bit of your vision from that moonshine. And listen to some Shakespeare.
Dave, we've just finally got the people from Wales to settle down with you. Now we're going to get all of Appalachia upset.
Well, it's funny that you should say Wales because the other accents that apparently is closest to Shakespearean pronunciation is West Country, England, or a little bit of Wales. And so I was like, oh, it's funny how countrified Elizabethan English was. Like it wasn't this, oh, hello, RP, received pronunciation like we're seeing the Queen. It was more like, all right, yeah, we're going over there, my lover, that kind of thing. So on that note, I'm going to say hello, everybody, and welcome to Comic Lab, the show about brutalizing of Appalachian accents with bad Los Angeles versions of it and making comics.
And making a living from comics. I didn't know whether I was going to be on this podcast for a minute. I'm Brad Geiger, author of the webcomics Handbook and Substack, and the creator of Evil Inc.
The most killing blow you could have said to me is I wasn't sure if I was going to be on this podcast. God damn it. That put me in my place. I am his friend Dave Kellett, cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon and co-director of Strip.
And this week's Hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/Comic Lab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend, and let's have Brad do most of the talking because I've been doing too much of it. So, Brad, I'm going to jump us right in with our first question coming in over at patreon.com/Comic Lab.
Let's have Brad do the talking. So, Brad, I'm going to read the first question.
Well, here's my thinking. I'm going to read the question and then duck out
and then turn your microphone off. Let me rip.
While I go get another shot of moonshine over here at the still. So I'm going to say, so here we go, Brad. I'm working with my wife to create educational content for the software engineers, and we want it to be more fun and engaging. How would you suggest developing a style for someone who has only ever doodled and taken some art classes? I can't take years to learn, as the courses will be long done by then. I need visual fun and humor only, so no writing is necessary. So, Brad, how do you create an art style quick, like lightning quick? What's your suggestion for how to quickly create an art style, Brad?
If I told you what my suggestion was to this person, it'd probably be the last podcast we ever done. They'd probably take us off of podcasting. So I'm going to try to take this person at face value, but I'm going to preface my comments by saying that you wouldn't talk this way to a plumber. You wouldn't talk this way to an auto mechanic, right?
Or physician?
You wouldn't certainly. I mean, you wouldn't come up and say, I need to do this heart operation, but I don't have all that time to learn medicine. Just tell me what I need to know to cut this guy's chest.
Right.
And I know this person. I'm hyperbolizing to make a funny point. But here's the thing. What he's doing is he's asking two guys that have devoted their life, their lives to doing things, one of which was developing an art style. And he says, yeah. I don't need all that. I just want to do something in 20 minutes. And the thing about it is that if you are someone for whom you've never drawn much, and you want to start drawing, there is no shortcut to all of a sudden giving you an art style. I would strongly encourage you to hire somebody. And I know the first thing you're going to say is, I don't have a lot of money. But listen, there's a lot of people who are coming right out of college who are going to work for very reasonable prices. It's because they want the portfolio piece. They want the experience. And with AI right now, you've got a lot of people who are very eager to take those jobs that kind-hearted people like yourself might still be willing to offer. This is something that I can't in good conscience and realistically can't tell you, well, here's how to have an art style in 5 easy steps, and by next week, you'll be an artist. It doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. This is something you need to hire somebody who actually cares about this stuff, and they will do, I think if you vet them well, they will do a very good job for you. But I don't think you get to have an art style in 5 easy steps.
Yeah, I agree with Brad. I think, look, at the end of this, we could probably give you a cheat And this is also applicable for artists who are young in their journey and like, how do I start to try to walk down a path? So I'll do that at the end. But I want to start off by saying that Brad is right, is that one of the reasons why for any profession or craft or hobby, they often bandy about that number of 10,000 hours. And one of the reasons why it's 10,000 hours is the first 100 you copy Jim Davis, and then the next 100 you copy Burke Breathitt, and then the next 100 you copy Watterson, and you figure out your style by figuring out how they did what they did, and slowly but surely through both intentionality and oddly enough through mistakes, your style starts to develop. But it takes 10,000 hours of putting marks on paper for you to see it. And as Brad often says, you can't see your style coming. You can only see it in the rearview mirror.
Right.
And it's because it took 10,000 hours and you look back and you go, oh, I see how my eyes developed. Oh, I see how my line art developed. Oh, I see how my writing style developed. But you couldn't 100% plan that with intentionality. Again, it's both putting in the time and honestly accidents and happy accidents and tragic accidents that make you realize what are the widest parameters of your style, and then it becomes more and more contained and controlled, and you realize, oh, this is the way that I am drawing now. This is my look. This is my style. This is my approach. But Brad's idea that it's in the rearview mirror is one of the most helpful ones that I've ever heard.
Yeah. And not only that, but learning. So what is an art style? That is your ability to draw in a unique and recognizable way, right? I mean, that's a pretty clear definition of what an art style is.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Right.
Did you grab that from somewhere, or did you come up with that?
No, as you were talking, okay. I was trying, because you said something that touched this thought off, and I'm like, oh, this is a good way of putting it.
Right.
But it starts with, what is an art style? It's the ability to draw in a unique and recognizable way. But you can only start to work on that after you learn how to draw, period. How to make an image on the paper that looks like what you're trying to convey. And that may sound very simple, but it's not, right? Especially when you come into drawing. It's one thing just to draw a person, but then to draw a person drinking coffee is a little bit more complicated. Drawing a person dancing with another person is much more complicated. Drawing a person dancing with another person in the interior that's a ballroom is much more complicated.
And all consistent so that it looks like one person transitioning from a moment to a moment and not a completely different drawing. Yeah, exactly.
And you've got foreground and background and mid and expression and gesture and all those things that make a drawing. That takes a long time to learn how to do. Okay. Yeah. Now, and we haven't even talked about an art style yet. We're talking about hundreds of hours just to learn how to draw. And then what happens, as Dave said, what happens is that as you keep drawing, just to try and put an image that somebody recognizes on the paper, as you keep doing that, you are presented with a number of challenges, and you keep solving those challenges. And eventually you find ways of solving those challenges. How do I draw an elbow? How do I draw a pinky finger? How do I draw an eye at the side looking up? Pretty soon you have all of these solutions that have become for you tried and true that you reuse over and over again. And the combination of all of those solutions to all of those challenges, that's your art style.
Yep.
And because you have your own unique solutions to those drawing challenges, how do I draw a background so that it doesn't compete with the foreground? There's a lot of answers to that question.
There are, yeah.
Your answer to that question, and the one that you drop back to over and over
and the one that you execute on, that's your style.
You've been positively reinforced for it, and you like the way it looks, and you do it in a special way. That's your art style.
Yeah.
But before you can even do an art style, you've got to learn how to draw. And learning how to draw is not something you can do overnight. It takes some dedication. It takes passion. It takes persistence. And that's why we say in all good-naturedness, it's an understandable question, but we just can't. There is no answer to your question. This is something that you should find somebody who cares about the craft to fill that need.
Yeah, I agree with Brad that in this specific instance, in the time that you need, you're not going to come up with something that's a style unless you, and I'm being honest here, unless you straight up copy somebody else's style, which is probably what would happen, right? But let me talk about that for a minute, because one of the reasons why so many arts traditionally in like the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, or even Japanese tradition, one of the reasons why it was a gilded system, or the idea of a master and a student, was you basically were telling them, copy what I do for the first 10 years. Just copy it. Just copy it. Just straight up copy it. You know, also, you're going to paint my backgrounds. I'll do the foregrounds. You'll work on my backgrounds. You know, like even the manga system, the mangaka, it's so clever how they're like, I'll do the, or even the Marvel system, I'll do the pencils, you'll do the inks, I'll do the foregrounds, you'll do the backgrounds, I'll do this, you know, because it teaches them by copying to try to mimic their master's style, how to do a thing. And in doing, like, if you're in a gilded system, if you're the student working under a master, if you're a mangaka and you're doing the background, trying to mimic their style to match their foregrounds, you learn by copying. It's a copying way of learning. And that's kind of what would end up happening if you tried to very quickly do a style, is you would basically be jumping into that first stage of the 10,000 hours, which is frankly a lot of copying. That's what I did. That's what Brad did. That's what most artists do. They're like, I love this single panel in this, I don't know, Fantastic Four. I'm going to try to draw Sue Storm that exact way. Ooh, yikes, my version is terrible. I love the way Garfield is holding this plate of lasagna in this. I'm going to try that. Oh, my version's terrible. But by trying it, as Brad said, you bank one more experience in your mind about how to draw a plate of lasagna or how to draw Sue Storm, even if it's badly. And slowly over 10,000 hours, you get better and better. And that bank gets more and more filled with attempts, good and bad, that you then incorporate and roll into a style eventually. But if you were to try to do this right now, you certainly can, but my spidey sense is that it will come out feeling very copy-ish to something that you've seen somewhere. You'll be like, oh, I kind of like this one reference art that I saw of this kid. I could do my own version of that on the software that I'm going to do. Yeah, you can, but based on lack of experience, it'll probably be pretty copied a version of what you saw. You know what I mean? And when you try to do it your own way. Don't you think, Brad? Is that unfair to say?
No, although I think what you said is perfectly fair, although I've got another take on it. I think if he tries to do this, it's going to look terrible, embarrassingly bad, and he's going to be the last person to know it. Because of what we colloquially call Dunning-Kruger syndrome, where you don't know enough to know what you don't know. Yeah. In other words, he'll try this. He'll think it's just fine. Anybody else is going to look at it and say, ugh, that's not so great. But he won't know enough about art to even know how bad it is. So it'll be, hey, this is great. Brad was full of shit. He said this was going to be tough, and here I am. It's great. It's no problem. And he'll be the last person. He won't be able to see it maybe ever, right? That's what I see happening here is Dunning-Kruger will set in. You'll be
what your emotional state will be like this. You'll be like Brad launching into that sentence and then getting to the word colloquially and realizing that you're not quite sure how to plow through it. And so that's just in terms of audially, that's what's going to happen to you when you start to draw, is that you'll start off with vim and vigor, and then you'll get to the word colloquially and be like, oh no, bail out. I need to do a Porky Pig on this. Colloquially. Yeah, a different way of looking at it.
Hoisted on my old petard.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, listen, it's exciting. Let's take a positive on this. The fact that you are like, how do I do a style quickly is you're feeling the impetus that all young artists, and when I say young, I don't mean 22, I mean young in your journey. Right. And that's fun. That's exciting. You're saying, I do want a style and I do want to draw, and I want my drawings to be applicable and usable in the world. These are all good things. So it's not like we're poo-pooing this. What we are warning you against is the possibility that this could be done with speed. Don't you think that's fair to say, Brad?
No shortcuts. I think that's the quick and easy version of saying what we're saying here is that there There are no shortcuts here. And if you want to do this thing and make it good, I think you need to bring somebody in on that. And then, then you get into another a kind of dynamic where now you've got to communicate with this person and tell them what you want, and then guide them, art direct them, as it were, to a certain extent. And also trust, depending on this person's level of skills, trust that they know how to do what they do. Right. Oh, that music means only one thing. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your chakras and center your vibes, because entering the Comic Lab studio on a radiant beam of self-belief and highly flammable essential oils, it's the one and only Susan MacTaggart.
Bradley John. There's the little duck that makes all the lady ducks cluck. How are you, Bradley John?
Susan, it's so good to have you back in studio again. And I know that you are you are here because you are contractually obligated to give one of our personal affirmations to a lucky $10 backer.
Oh, yes, Bradley John. Always happy to give a little personal affirmation to one of the Patreon.com/Comic listeners.
But before we do that, you've got a new book that you've published. I want all of our listeners to know about your new book.
I do. So pleasant of you. Oh, Bradley John, how kind you are. What a good soul. What a gentle soul to mention my new book. It's indeed dropping from Penguin Random House this coming week, Bradley. That book title is called Don't Let the Bluebird of Happiness Poop on Your Head. The new book from Susan MacTaggart. You're going to want to look for that at bookstores everywhere.
Okay, Susan, today your lucky personal affirmation is going out to none other than Ryan Fisher.
Ryan! Oh my goodness, Ryan Fisher. Can I call you Rye Guy? Rye Guy, what a lovely name that is. But Bradley, before I turn my attentions to Rye Guy, I want to tell you, you know what's nice about you, Bradley, as I'm looking over at you across the microphones? You often hear, about people whose success goes right to their heads. It goes right to their head, Bradley. But I'll be honest, I don't think that's ever going to be a problem for you, Bradley.
No, I guess I am a very centered, humble person.
Well, let's Bradley, let's dim the lights and bring down the mood and send Rye Guy a little bit affirmation for this week. Yes. So, Rye Guy, I want you to know, let's pull you close, my little sweetheart, my little sugar plum fairy, and say, Rye Guy, every day is a blank canvas. Every day is a blank canvas, Rye Guy. So go out there and draw a blank, Rye Guy. And Bradley, I will say to you, get out there, Bradley. Keep doing what you're doing. Everything is working, Bradley. And don't let that success go to your head, although I do think it's going to be a problem.
And there she goes, vanishing into a cloud of sandalwood and raw ambition. Susan MacTaggart, thank you for another soul-fortifying affirmation and for reminding us all that success is just a vision board away, assuming you don't get bored with your vision. And Dave, I can't believe it. You missed her again.
I missed her again. I walk in always at the wrong time. I don't know why we installed that side door in the studio. She goes out that side door. It's like how a psychologist always has the side door for the outgoing patients versus the ingoing patients. We always come in on the different doors. So anyway, I missed it, but we'll catch up at some point.
Now, would Susan be an ingoing patient or an outgoing patient?
Oh, that caught me off guard. That's a funny way of phrasing that. I don't know. Well, Brad, before we do anything else, there's one thing I want to mention, which is that this week's show is sponsored by our Brad and my current and much loved DreamHost.com hosting service. And we could not be happier with them as sponsors because we have used and loved them for years. I cannot say enough nice things. They have hosted both Sheldon and Drive and Brad's sites as well with great aplomb. And so if you head over right now to dreamhost.com/comiclab, they have two special offers for everybody. And these are prices that honestly, you could lock them in for 3 years over at dreamhost.com/comiclab. There are two plans, the shared starter at $259 a month and the shared unlimited at $395 a month. And honest to God, either way you go, this is bonkers good pricing that you can lock in for 3 years. It's everything you need to get started, get up and running, and have the world-class hosting that dreamhost.com/Comic Lab has for you. And Brad, you were the one that turned me on to dreamhost.com originally. And I can't thank you enough because they have been salvific in my own career.
Yeah, and not only that, but we're hearing a lot from our audience that they're really listening to what we've been saying here on the show for years and years and years about the importance of owning and controlling your own work. And of course, the first step to making that happen is a website. As much as that sounds old school to a lot of our younger listeners, it really is the only place on the web where you can fully own and control your own work. You're not going to get kicked out. You're not going to come up against somebody's changed rules or their terms of service. And you certainly don't have to worry about somebody claiming the rights over your IP. A website is the only place on the web where you can truly own and control your own work. We've been saying it for years, and our friends over at DreamHost have been helping people make that their own place on the web for years. They've been making it happen for people for years and years. And if you're like Dave and I and you get into trouble, we cannot endorse a support staff any strongly. And that is a word I just made up.
Listen, that's how you know it's strong. It's
that's
because
right.
It's strong.
It's not just strong, it's stronglier. We cannot endorse them stronglier than the support staff over at dreamhost.com. So
that's right, because listen, Brad and I are two smart guys. We're savvy guys, but occasionally we will click something that shouldn't be clicked or turn a knob that shouldn't be turned. And here's what's great is that I have been with very large international hosts before where I am a number to them. I am lost in the system. But what's great about DreamHost is that I will reach out to them and be like, hey, gang, your old pal Dave really messed something up. I really am in a bucket of syrup. And they will, honest to God, handhold me through it in a way that I have had it in no other host that I've used online. And so anyway, to get yourself started, the free domain is included. It's unlimited traffic. There's a WordPress installer ready for you to go. There's automated WordPress migrations. I could go down a whole list of everything that they offer to you. But the point is, both for ease of startup and ease of maintaining, Brad and I can't recommend it enough. Dreamhost.com/Comic Lab. Jump on in. Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
Fantastic, Dave. It's time for us to handle another question from one of our Patreon backers over at patreon.com/Comic Lab. And this one comes in and says, hello, Brad and Dave. I was wondering what your thoughts are on having a personal account. I'm not talking about a private personal Facebook for family, but rather an account that is still public, still uses your name, but lets you be a little bit more free in what you post without worrying about your branding on your professional account. Maybe this is more of a Gen Z issue, but with the importance of keeping your audience and brand cohesive, I wonder if this is a desirable way to also just engage freely with the community. Many thanks coming in from our Patreon backer. And how do we tell this person the best way to go here? They want to share their feelings on the issues of the day, whether they're political or social or what have you, but she doesn't want to necessarily get tripped up in having that affect her brand. And we've in the past kind of cautioned people. It's like you have absolutely, if you feel that you need to speak out on this thing or that thing, do it. But you also have to be reasonable, and you have to take a pragmatic look and say those things are going to have consequences, right?
Right.
So this person says, what if I just set up a personal account and I do all of still has their name, but anything they say isn't going to come back on their brand for their comic. What's your thoughts on that approach?
I see the impetus behind it, and I share the quick assessment that it is probably the wisest way to do it if you're desperate to share either political or religious or sociological opinions that might tamper with your comic brand. Let's say, for example, you're, I don't know, like a YA author.
Yeah.
And for the most part, you've got to maintain a squeaky clean, unblemished social media account. Yeah. But then you could have your own personal one that talks about politics, religion, sociology, whatever you'd want to do there. But then you kind of have to ask yourself, what is the end point of me sharing my opinions on this personal named account?
Right.
I will just speak for myself that there are times where I've got the world needs to know what Dave Kellett feels about this. But then what happens is about a week later or a month later or 6 months later, I look back and I'd be like, did I move the needle at all? Did I need to share that? Did people need to know how I felt about Senator so-and-so saying such and such about so-and-so? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we live in a very imperfect world right now where voices are needed in both politics and society. So I get the impulse, and but I don't. So it's an interesting balance. What I'm trying to say is, if you're going to do it, yes, I guess this is the best way to do it. But then I also have to say to myself, what are we doing here? What's the end goal? You know what I mean? Is it really just the world needs to know my opinions? And kind of that's true for all of us. We all have that impulse. So I'm not making fun of it. I am that. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what needle am I moving by sharing this?
What
and
purpose
maybe
does it
it's
serve?
just. Yeah, what purpose does it serve? And maybe it's just I am here, I lived this life, these were my thoughts, and reaching out in a friendship way along social media. But I don't know. I think I've talked too much about it. Brad, what are your thoughts about someone who wants to say, I have a brand, let's say they have a comic strip called Pickles on the Weekend, right? That's their comic strip. And Pickles on the Weekend has a very specific, bright-eyed, optimist look into the world. But they themselves have strong opinions about world politics or about current wars that are going on around the world or about their local senator. And so they don't want to blemish Pickles on the Weekend with their own politics or religion or social stuff. So they put it on their own personal Tim McGibbons social media feed. So Tim McGibbons has their social media feed and Pickles on the Weekend. I don't know why I'm populating this with details, but anyway.
I'm just letting you go. This is wonderful. You're building a whole life for Tim McGibbons. Very soon I'm going to find out about his wife and his two kids.
Tim McGibbon's partner's like, what are you doing, Tim? And Tim's like, listen, the world needs my opinions.
Yeah.
And Tim's partner's like, you don't need to share all this. And they're like, well, I can't put it on Pickles on the Weekend social media, so I created this own separate one. And then Tim McGibbon's partner's like, yeah, but I'm the only one following you. You could just tell me around the house. What are you doing? Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I'm tempted
to
just let you keep
going.
Well, what's that? What do I think? I'll tell you. So here's honestly what I think. You can't have your cake and eat it too, is what I think. Because if you think you're going to have two accounts and you're going to say something that is very strongly worded and emphatic on your personal account, and people aren't going to screenshot that and bring it over to your comic account and say, I see, this is how you think about blah, blah, blah.
That's true.
Right? If you think that's not going to happen, you can fly under the radar, probably for a certain amount of time, but you're living on borrowed time.
What will fix that is fame. You know what I mean? Once you get to a certain level of fandom, it will happen on a daily, Right.
So I've talked in the past how I am very against performative social media in terms of, somehow I think signal virtuing or virtue signaling is an overused phrase, but I think there's something that it describes that's going on. I would encourage you, instead of taking all that energy that you would put into a personal social media account where you can issue a firmly worded tweet to that senator that you dislike, instead of doing that kind of slacktivism stuff where you can push a button and stay seated in your chair, I would encourage you to go out into your community and be an active part of changing those things that you're making strongly worded tweets about. Hey, if you want to volunteer at a soup kitchen or go to a mutual aid organization and show up on an afternoon and say, what can I do to help? Or if you want to do any number of different things that perhaps addresses these things that you're upset about, I would encourage you to take all of that energy that you want to put into a personal social media account and get out and get involved. And even if that involvement means something as simple as writing a check, making a donation to an organization that you see doing good things in the world, or doing any number of other things. But what happens too often is we kind of let ourselves off the hook, and then somebody say, "Oh, did you see that terrible thing that's happening in this other place over here?" And you say, "Yes, and I'm very, very upset about it." Well, they've got this organization that's doing something about it. Did you write them a check? And you say, "No, I didn't write them a check, but I did do something even as important." And what did you do? I shined a light on it. I gave it my attention. I made a tweet and said that other people should get involved. We have a lot of people who are willing to shine a light on things. We don't have a whole lot of people willing to leave their front door and get involved in things. Everybody's too busy shining lights. So and I'm not saying, by the way, that this is you. I'm saying that this is a much bigger thing that we're tapping into here. But I would encourage you, instead of doing this personal account, take that energy and get involved, because those things have actual tangible effects that aren't lost to an algorithm, that aren't controlled by somebody else, and certainly don't come back, have anything to do with your branding, positive or negative. And by the way, that's the best reason to do it. Not to go out there and do it because you're branding, you see all the time on YouTube, this guy comes up and gives $100 to a homeless person. They just happen to do it when there's a camera right in front of them. Watch this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The better thing is to go and do that things for no social media algorithm or positive or negative effect on your branding whatsoever. Just to go out and do it because you feel strongly about it. I think that's a much healthier way of looking at this.
Yeah, it's funny how your advice is akin to biblical. The idea of like doing the service and letting no one know about it.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
do it
like
in the dark.
Do it in the dark. Yeah, exactly. But it's one of my favorite kind of stories is when like a 90-year-old Iowan farmer or that Irish billionaire that died a couple years ago, where they die. And they wore the same jeans their entire life, but they put 500 kids through college. You know what I mean? Yeah. The anonymous kids that no one knew who they did it. And but I always think about how and I'm throwing myself under the bus here, my thousands of hours of online slacktivism where I shared an opinion, mostly on Twitter. I don't do it so much anymore on Blue Sky. But I was younger and naive and wide-eyed and hopeful that it was making a difference, because you always don't want to have. It's true, silence is complicity, but the flip side of that is not necessarily that noise is the solution. If you know what I mean.
I'll tell you what else is complicity: sitting on your ass.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that action is solution, not noise. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but what I'm getting at there is that the inverse is not necessarily the solution. Like silence is complicity. Yes, you can't just allow injustice to go on, but action is solution, not noise is solution, right? And so for all the thousands of hours of slacktivism that I have done, and I'm throwing myself under the bus, I have done it, thousands of hours of slacktivism. The 1 hour volunteering at a food bank impacted 200 lives directly. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that 1 hour.
Yeah.
So to Brad's point, when you're considering something like this, and yes, it is still the best option to split it off from your branding, because I think there's wisdom there. But you also have to ask yourself, like, what are you doing here?
What am I doing here?
To what goal are you shooting for? Is it so that you can just talk about things? Well, that's fine. That's part of the human experience. You want to share with your community of 20, 30, 100 friends online. But you just have to do it with the acknowledgement that really you're seeking community and communality in sharing opinions. You're not really going to move any needles in sharing opinions.
Yeah.
Is that a fair way to say it, Brad?
That's a fair way. I think that's a fair way to say it.
And there is value in communality and community. I don't know if communality is a word, but it feels different than community.
I don't think that has stopped us so far this entire show.
Yeah, I just think colloquially, that's the word I want to use.
Colloquially and stronglier.
Stronglier. I got to tell you, in a world where we started off by making fun of hillbillies, I think we've dove headfirst into their world.
I think we've actually stayed true to the theme, because wasn't it Shakespeare who created words when he needed them and they didn't exist?
Shakespeare absolutely created 3,000 words?
We are very Shakespearean.
Yeah, Brad and I are akin to Shakespeare, is what we're saying.
Yeah,
we are akin to Shakespeare.
I think so.
In both our creativity and our wordsmithing. Absolutely.
Do you think there's any similarity that they call him the Bard and they call me the Brad? Do you think that just happened by accident?
Did you just have that in your pocket,
ready to go? It was just ready to go.
Yeah,
when you said Shakespeare, I was ready to go. Yeah, Brad.
Can I tell you? So this is unimportant to anything we're talking about, but completely separate. So, the dictionary didn't get started until Webster in the U.S. and I'm forgetting the creator of the English dictionary in the U.K. But regardless, so before the dictionaries got started, English was this malleable, inconsistently spelled language, right? But my favorite part of this is in the 5 remaining examples we have of Shakespeare's handwriting, he spelled his own goddamn name wrong 3 different ways across his life. He spelled it with an E at the end once. He spelled it without an E at the other time. He spelled it without an A at one point. Yeah. It's like, spell your own goddamn name right, Shakespeare. You're the bard of the English language and you can't spell your name right?
Or maybe he was so busy being creative that the spelling was the last thing on his mind. Speaking as somebody who often has their readers pointing out spelling errors, I think that is a legitimate explanation.
So yes, once again, we see that the bard is akin to Brad. And so
the immortal Brad.
But anyway, I think Brad and I would say there's no immediate harm to doing this separate breakout social media account. Although I will say that with fame and with the numbers of fans increasing, as to Brad was pointing out, you will find more and more people screenshotting and resaving or screenshotting saying, "This you?" ? That kind of accusatory "this you."
I've got the receipts.
Yeah, exactly. One of them will come back to haunt you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But that's also those are choices for you to make, and it's not Brad and my place to say that you can't. But just that it's an imperfect way to try to impact the world. I think what it is the older I've gotten, and I've been on social media now. I don't know, Brad, how long? 15 years, 20 years?
Easily. I think at this point it's definitely more than 15, going on 20.
Yeah. The cynical side of me with social media has come to see that it is both incredibly effective and important and moves the needle on in mass, but that my own ability to be incredibly effective and move the needle is very limited. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so I have a weird cynical look on social media's impact in the world, is that absolutely state actors and propaganda and botnets can impact voting, can impact people's opinions. But I feel like my own ability to move the needle is relatively small and ineffective, and just ends up biting me in the ass the most. I don't know.
This is a whole tangent, but I can't tell you how much better I've slept since I made the decision to put the phone on the other side of the bedroom to charge.
Yeah, I can tell because you and it clearly is working because you bring it up a lot. So I know I need to do it, but I can't get myself to do it.
But this goes into a bigger thing. There's that. I can't tell you how much better my productivity has gotten since I took all the main social media apps off my phone. Right?
Yeah.
And I've gotten to the point now that I'm starting to put the phone when I sit down to work on the other side of the studio, because how many times you've been working and you see that thing flash and it takes your attention away, and then you got it. And it's just maybe something that says, somebody liked your Blue Sky post or something like that. Those kind of notifications. It's not one of the kids calling in to say the house is on fire. It's just, somebody liked this thing. Thumbs up, pink. But that takes your attention away. You can't get into the zone that way. So I've started to put the phone over on the other side of the studio, all of which to say, if you are talking about getting a personal social media account, I would counter by almost again saying, how about less social media? How about we get that even more out of our lives? How about we compartmentalize that even more? Because I got to a point where I had a talk with myself where I said, if it wasn't for my comic, would I be on social media? If there was no comic to promote or publish or build or monetize, would I even be on social media? And the answer was no. And once I really came across to that, I could be a passive social media user. In other words, whenever I'm in a doctor's office, I will make sure that TikTok is on my phone, because there's nothing that makes time disappear like just scrolling mindlessly through TikTok videos, right? So if I got someplace I'm going to be waiting for a while, then I'll make sure that I've got something like TikTok that I can passively go through. But in terms of being an active participant, if it wasn't for comics and my need to do all those things that I mentioned, would I even be on social media? Once I realized the answer was no, then I was able to start making some changes that have had nothing but positive benefits in my life. And so I'm going to endorse the other side of this, where not only do I not want you to create a personal social media that you can do this, I want you to take the Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, if you haven't done it already. I want you to take them right off your phone today. I want you to hook up that phone on the other side of your bedroom when you go to bed at night and put a book by your nightstand to read before you go to sleep.
All of this is such good advice. But
I want you to put the book on I want you to put the phone on the other side and realize that you can set up on your phone that if you're needed in an emergency, they can get through all of that. But you're going to put the phone way over there when you're working. And I'm telling you, instead of trying to find a way that social media fits into your life, how about you say, social media doesn't fit in my life? And I'm going to, instead of doing this extra for social media, I'm going to take a few extra steps against social media, get rid of it, and see what that does for your life. That's what I'm going to endorse. And I'm not bullshitting you. All of these things are things that I've actually done and I've seen positive benefits of.
Listen, I 100% believe it. And I'll tell you why I believe it, because I came back from Alaska, remember being like extolling the virtues of like, this is the way we're supposed to live. And it was like stepping back into the mid 90s before social media and before phones, dominated our life. And Brad, what the hell did I do as soon as I got back to LA?
The first thing you did. Boop,
right back on the phone. I'm going to check social media. And I know that I'm wasting hours every day on social media. And I will, again, tell on myself, I am addicted to checking out nonsense. It's not adding to my life necessarily, aside from maybe 5 to 10 key moments where I read something. But it's the same kind of thing like a casino pull, is that you only need 1 out of 100 to hit, and that gives you enough serotonin. And so that keeps me on social media, is that only 1 out of 100 stories or tweets or this or that needs to hit in order for me to stay addicted. But by God, I'm still addicted, Brad. Yeah. And so I have tried to put time limiters on my social media on the phone. And do you know what happens, Brad? I use the one that's built into the Apple iPhone. And it's like, you've used up Reddit for the day. And it goes, do you want 15 more minutes or turn it off for the day? Bink. Guess what I do right away? I'm like, oh, I just need a little more time. And then at the second one, I'm like, let's turn it off for today. I'm fine. It's a Saturday.
This thing doesn't work. I'm turning it off.
How much better how much better would my Saturday have been if I just went out to my garden, literally helping no one else but me and just work on my garden? Would have made me so much happier as a person. But it's an addiction, and you're right, is what I'm trying to say. You're right, is that's a better thing. I'm not there yet, but I know that is the healthier path for me to walk, is to take that shit off, just take it off my phone. Yeah. And make it uncomfortable to me to have to go to a big computer to sit and look at this stuff, you know?
Yes, I'm telling you. I mean, I really do feel like a Luddite preaching this, but it's where I think we all need a little bit of asshole in our life, in that one of the reasons, speaking of telling on yourself, one of the reasons this was so easy for me to do, because I really don't care about what anyone else thinks. So I read these people's posts. Well, I think this and I think that. And I honestly don't give two shits about what these people think. And I don't want to read about what they think. I'm very interested when they say things like, here's a drawing I'm really proud of. That I'm there for, right? Here's something that I'm doing. I feel good. But as soon as it turns to, well, I think this and that and about the politics and the world is going, and I don't care. I might agree with you. I might disagree with you, but it means nothing in my life what you think about politics. And I think we all need to get a little bit more asshole so we can say, at the end of the day, seriously, do you give two shits about what half of these people say about anything? No. So turn it off.
No, but I see what you're saying, but I'm not so cantankerous that, like, there's 20 or 30 people that I follow on social media that I do genuinely love them, and I love their opinion, and I love. So what I'm saying, on a sliding scale of Brad Geiger at the far end of the extreme, Brad Geiger with his shoe that he's got his chancla on his front step, and he's like swinging it at neighbors, like, get off my lawn. Yes. That's the extreme. Yes. I'm like 20 steps back from that. Is that there's some people that I do care about.
I will say this with all sincerity: nobody should be like me, but maybe seriously, what's going on between those ears, you don't want to know, but. A couple of steps towards that is going to help you take Twitter and Instagram and Facebook off your phone. That should be the first thing that you do when we're at the end of this podcast. Take those things off your phone and don't put them back on.
So here's the thing. I'm not going to do it this week. Because, but listen, here's this week. After we record the next episode, I'm going to take social media off my phone for a week. I promise you this. Yeah. I want to make this a topic for the show next week. Not next week, but I'm gonna start the process. And while we're on the show, I'm gonna delete the apps from my phone, and then we're gonna follow up the next week and see if they made their way back onto my phone, which might happen, Brad. Or we're going to see if I was happier or more productive that week. Okay. So this is my challenge to myself for not this episode. I need it this week.
I know why.
I'm like scratching my arm. I need it this week, Brad. I need it.
Like you're going to do it. You're going to show it up on the screen where you're literally deleting them. And then of course,
I'm going to hold my phone up to the camera that Brad sees me.
Yep, you are an honest, upstanding person. So I don't have to worry about you hiding them on your phone the week after. If you put them back on,
what does that gain us? I want to see how bad I get the itches for social media, or whether I produce an extra comic that week, or get a little bit of extra done around the house. You know what I mean? Like it's very possible.
Now, what do we got to do to get that phone on the other side of the bedroom? But I mean, it's none of my business. I'm being an asshole, but seriously,
no, Brad, Brad's inviting himself into my bedroom. Yes. We see where this is going. All right. So, listen. I don't know. How do you do it? So, like, you brush your little Brad Geiger teeth.
Yes.
You take your little end of day Brad Geiger pills. Yeah. You have your end of day Brad Geiger ablutions, and then what happens? You put on your nightgown and cap.
Yes.
And you kiss your wife gently on the cheek, and then do you walk over and plug your phone in on the other side of the bedroom?
Yeah.
Do you keep the ringer on, or what do you do?
The ringer's on, so that if there is an emergency, people can get through.
Okay.
There's people on a special emergency list. And
am I on that? Wait, am I on that emergency list?
Yes. Oh, always, David.
I honestly don't bullshit me.
No, you're not. It's my kids and my parents and my in-laws, and that's it. Yeah. But it's got a do not disturb mode that goes bedtime to morning time, and then. there's no audible notifications. It's face down.
So it can't light up the room.
Like it can't light up the room. It's face down and it's in a drawer.
Okay, and then in a drawer.
It's in a drawer.
But in a drawer.
It is out of sight. It couldn't. If it lit up the whole, if it found a way to turn the flashlight on in the back, it still wouldn't wake me up. It is completely packaged off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you use it for an alarm clock?
Yes.
So then the first alarm wakes your ass up because you can't use snooze because you're now plotting on the other side of the bedroom.
Right.
So you've really committed to this bit. Holy hell.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm being honest with you.
The first alarm often wakes me up. See, the problem is I'm half deaf. So if I'm sleeping on my good ear, I don't hear shit. And the first alarm wakes my wife up, who then wakes me up and then kicks me out of the room.
Right.
But yeah, there's no snooze. I don't believe in snooze anyway. I mean, here's another old man thing.
Oh my God. We're learning so much about Brad Geiger this week. Yeah, okay.
Snooze is, I honest to God, there's no snooze in Brad Geiger's world. The alarm goes off. It's time to get up, get out of bed and get moving, asshole. It's time to go. There's no snooze.
Wow. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not going to do the across the room and in the drawer. No, listen. Baby steps. My promise to you is that next week on the show, I'm going to delete my social media apps from my phone on the show.
Yes.
And then we're going to give it a week, and I'm going to tell you how bad I got the itches or whether my life improved over that week. Okay. I think that's a fun experiment for listeners to try because we might positively impact other people and getting it off their phones. So
what if we did the Comic Lab?
We might learn that Dave Kellett is sorely addicted to social media,
What if we did the Comic Lab social media challenge as such
where everybody did it together? Okay.
When this show goes out, when that episode hits, we hit the Discord server, we hit our social media saying, take the social media challenge along with Dave Kellett, delete. We got to keep people, we got to take their word, but our listeners are very honest, forthright people.
Right.
Tell them, take it off your phone. And then we're going to meet back next week, all of us, and see how we did. Were we able to keep it off? And then can we shoot for week number 2 and see how many weeks we can go?
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't hate this idea. I think this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by how it might impact my life or how much it might horrify me that I am as addicted as I suspect that I am.
If that's the honest to God, without getting too serious, if that's the case, then you got to do something. You can't let something control your life. That's
exactly. And also, I just have better shit in my life to focus on rather than social media.
Yes, you do. You know what you need to focus on right now? I'll tell you what you need to focus on. You need to focus on what you're going to say after I say you've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
Well, your hosts have been my inspiration and friend, Brad Geiger, the editor of webcomics.com, the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com, and the handsome co-host of the new drawing show over at wrongwayshow.com, and the creator of the Comic Lab social media challenge starting next week. So tune in next week for more on that.
And my inspired person. What's the target of an inspiration?
Friend is the word you're looking for, you son of a bitch. That's the word you're looking for.
My
Couldn't find it. Sorry, Brad. Couldn't find the word friend in your heart, huh?
My own bosom buddy, Dave Kellett, co-director of the comics documentary Stripped, and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com, and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another one of the hopelessly handsome co-hosts of the drawing show at wrongwayshow.com, along with both of our good friends, Dave. I'm running out of breath. Kevin McShane, he's our friend. We love him. He's the other person that's on the Wrong Way Show.
Over at wrongwayshow.com. That's right. And the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net. And this episode and all episodes was edited by the ever wonderful Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media.
If you love Comic Lab, and we know that you do, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us that 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up the podcast charts.
And Comic Lab is made possible by your support at patreon.com/Comic Lab. So we'll go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/to be or not to be. That is the question.
Dave, do you think you could do Romeo and Juliet with an Appalachian accent?
Romeo and Juliet with an Appalachian accent. Well, given the fact that Romeo and Juliet was a 12-year-old making out with a 14-year-old and then they both committed suicide, I feel like this could be applied to Appalachia. Yes, perhaps.
Right. I just sent you over some quotes. Let's hear how they go.
Well, they weren't 12. They were both 14, right? Is that what they were? They were both
I don't
14?
remember their actual ages, but they
it was
were
like
underage.
shockingly young.
Yes.
It was shockingly young is what I'll say. So, all right, here we go. Let me try out a little bit of Romeo and Juliet. So this is Romeo. Brad, love is a smoke made with the fume of sighs, being purged of fire sparkling in lovers' eyes, being vexed, a sea nourished with lovers' tears.
Oh, my God.
How's
That is
right?
really good.
All right, how about...
Let's hear that killer one, yeah.
All right, sure. We got the big closer. This is Romeo with his big closer. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun.
Oh, my God. That is amazing.
Brad, now it's time for Romeo and Juliet to go make the beast with two backs. That was the closer you didn't expect.
That was the closer we didn't need.